This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Vote for the Music podcast, and we're going to be talking to you about some Eurovision news. So I'm Benjamin Windybank and
I'm Tadeusz.
I'm a Eurovision fan from the United Kingdom. I live right in the middle in a place called the Midlands, and I started watching Eurovision at a very young age. So I've got many years graphs. I've watched every contest ever, so I've got quite a wide range of Eurovision knowledge. And my co-host...
Yeah, I'm a Polish Eurovision fan with a couple of years of experience in singing in various choirs as an amateurish singing. However, I do know on good stuff. With Eurovision, I have a very complicated history, hearing or watching various ITBU contests. I got seriously into Eurovision 2 years ago and following it religiously ever since.
So, I think we should start by just giving our listeners a little insight into our Eurovision tastes. Let's start with our favourite Eurovision song ever. So this is quite a difficult question to really get to the grips of because it changes all the time for lots of people, and there's plenty of different range on what is the best, what isn't the best, but favourite wise. And I would say my favourite is, and I've said this for quite a while now, is Italy's entry, 1997, Fiumi di Parole by Giudice.
My favorite song, despite the fact that I'm still discovering many Eurovision entries, remains one of the Eurovision songs I know the longest, the 2010 winner, Satellite by Lena.
So we'll be coming with this podcast every week, giving you the weekly updates and news about the Eurovision Song Contest. So without further ado, let's get into the news.
This is to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, Vote for the Music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
So our first story is that the auditions for Luxembourg's new national final were held on the 23rd of July in Luxembourg.
Luxembourgish television clearly took very seriously its job after announcing to the whole world on the last grand final that they are returning. They are hosting the live auditions in professionally prepared studio with a panel of jury made of industry professionals as well as television executives.
Yes, so Luxembourg did announce just before the Eurovision Grand Final that they're coming back after an absence of 30 years, and they had the first auditions, and this is just for singers who do not have a song that I assume we'll see a little bit of footage from in the national final on the 27th of January. For now, we just got a bit of a look at that, and it looks quite good.
Obviously, the hopes are high because Luxembourg is the legend of the contests, and with all those pictures, we can say that the broadcaster at least tries not to disappoint, which is very comforting.
Yeah, and we know about that national final, so they're going to be offering commentary on the website in 3 different languages. We don't know what languages they are, but you would assume that's also probably going to be English. So they are aiming to make a widely watched national final. So it's looking a lot more professional than perhaps what you get in San Marino, which is, a good sign.
For our next story, we have our first artist for Eurovision 2024. And that is Mustii, who is going to represent Belgium.
Yes, so we got the news that Belgium have chosen their artist, which is Mustii. I wasn't familiar with Mustii beforehand, and I don't think you were either, were you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. However, I got to hear one of those songs afterwards. I was very critical for to it at first, but I have to admit that I still remember it, and that is quite a feat for the song. I've heard that Mustii is quite popular in his country, so he may legitimately be a strong contender for this contest. Of course, we'll see as once another artists will be uncovered.
And the song is coming out in February, so we've got a big, long wait to it, but not quite as long as the wait we had with Noah Corral last year when Israel announced in July, but still quite a significant wait. But also, we've got to factor in the fact that this is RTBF being the broadcast this time, because Belgium uniquely swap their broadcasters every year. And there is the possibility, I think maybe quite an unlikely one, but I think we should discuss it, that we might get a Belgian entry in French next year, if that's something Mustii wants to do. What do you think?
Well, I would love to see more French entries. I always enjoyed them, however, I don't think this is much of a possibility. The guy very clearly records mostly in English.
So speaking of Eurovision artist announcements, the word is that Cyprus will be internally selecting their Eurovision artists within the next few days. Perhaps very soon to when this podcast comes out, we'll find out who will be representing Cyprus.
Obviously, the Cypriot announcement comes after a huge controversy regarding the previously announced national final aim story, after the Greek broadcaster decided to sue over their planned collaboration with other Greek broadcaster that isn't involved in producing Eurovision Star.
Yes, so pretty much there's a whole thing. Cyprus announced a national final, which they've done quite a few times over the years, and it's not happened, which has also happened quite a few times over the years. This time there were legal issues and sort of fair play issues with using another Greek broadcaster to basically get a Greek artist to sing for Cyprus. But that's all been scrapped, and they're going to announce the Eurovision artist in the next few days. There's a lot of rumours about who it's going to be. Big rumour seems to be Eleni Ferreira. We'll see if that happens, but she was also rumoured quite a lot over the years.
Now, I gotta say, I really loved the Cypriot statements and how they sounded, especially the one that Fame Story will be just one of the sources of potential candidates and not the actual national final. It is very clear that Cypriot broadcaster gives a lot of value to their relationship with Greek broadcaster, but also really likes to do their own thing. Well, whatever is the case, it seems we have the drama settled for now, and will be very interesting who Cyprus comes up ultimately to represent them, since they gave themselves a very short time period to choose.
Yes, there was an announced national final from PRK that they're going to do some sort of one artist song section in January, but that seems to have flown under the radar since that was announced. So I'm not sure if that is happening, if that isn't happening. So we may also be getting a one artist national final in January. We'll see. I don't hold my hopes up with Cyprus when it comes to national finals and actually doing them.
Now, for our next story, we go to the United Kingdom, where some big news are striking because Tap Music, the management company responsible for preparing the last two Eurovision acts with Sam Ryder's Spaceman in 2022, as well as May Miller's I Wrote a Song in 2023, is ending their partnership with BBC. They released the official very polite statement full of compliments and pride from them accomplishment, but yes, this is the end of the road for those two.
Yes, so it seems from what we can find out, obviously none of this is that confirmed, but it seems that TAP were only ever there for 1 year for Sam Ryder, and because of the UK hosting and the UK team being quite stretched, having to put on 3 very good shows, TAP stayed on for a year just to see them through, and they had no intention of staying on further than that, apparently. So we've just had the news in the last few weeks that that's not, it's definitely the case, and TAP will not be working with the BBC next year. It doesn't seem like this is a reaction to May Muller's result. It seems this is very much just it's the end of a contract, and the BBC will seek out someone else, which seems to be the case as well, because BBC bosses have said at the Edinburgh TV Festival that they are interested in another similar management company and aren't currently pursuing a national final.
However, it may turn out that looking for an entrant will not be so hard for them because, well, there's an open question of Rina Sawayama. Of course, some of you may remember his name from speculations yes, T2023. It came up a lot as a potential UK representative. And now she hits the news again, as it turns out there could have been more to this story than we initially thought.
Yes, so she said in an interview when asked about Eurovision that she was at some point approached by the BBC to be the UK representative in 2023 in Liverpool, and she just took a long time making her mind up about it, but eventually did get back after quite a while and told the BBC yes, she would like to do it, and then she heard nothing. In that time, they'd gone to May Muller, they'd sorted out I Wrote a Song, they'd signed the contracts, it was all done and dusted. But this leaves a big open question because she's a massive artist, she's very well known, she's very capable, and, you know, there's willing on her part, and the BBC know that, to represent the UK at Eurovision. So that could be in the future, not necessarily next year, but potentially in the near future. She could certainly be someone who would be interested, and that could be, as long as it's a good song, quite game-changing for the United Kingdom.
Generally, things seem to be on the rise for the UK and the Eurovision reputation after first coming second with Sunrider, then hosting to the great acclaim. It seems that the 25th place of May Miller didn't discourage BBC, and they're putting more interest in Eurovision, starting with the small steps, as BBC One decided to keep the semi-finals as in their schedule next year, instead of returning them to BBC Three when they aired in previous years.
Yes, so the semi-finals in the UK have always been an afterthought. I think when they started, the BBC really weren't bothered about Eurovision really at all. This is the same era that the BBC declined to participate in Junior Eurovision, and instead ITV snapped that up. And yeah, they went on BBC Three for a long, long period. Then in 2016, they moved to BBC Four, went back to BBC Three. In 2023, they went to BBC One, and now they've decided to keep them on BBC One for the foreseeable future, which a lot of people did not expect. I think we hoped that because, you know, it's giving more Eurovision and putting it in front of millions of more people who can watch it. But yeah, lots of people expected them, maybe not necessarily to go back down to 3, but to go to BBC 2 at least. But the fact that on BBC 1 is brilliant news for just the UK's view and reputation of the Eurovision Song Contest. And also, even though, as you said, May Muller came 25th last year, it charted in the top 10, which is something we haven't seen in a long time, with the exception of Sam Ryder. But as for an entry that plays so low, you know, it got into the top 10 of the UK chart. 4 Eurovision songs in total got into the top 10, which is unheard of. So Eurovision, really, its reputation is very much on the up in the UK, and that's something we can be very optimistic about.
Yeah, between all the effort the BBC puts into Eurovision and Junior Eurovision, both can't wait to see what the future has in store for all the United Kingdom. However, the future seems to be very different on Malta, as the final of Malta Eurovision Song Contest 2024, that's the name of the national final, very fancy, is going to feature only the pre-recorded performances.
Yes, so in what seems to be cost-cutting measures, which is very odd considering the fact Malta have also announced they're going to do several heats and shows and quarterfinals and God knows in the lead up to this, which I think we don't quite know if they're going to be pre-recorded as well. But in what seems to be cost-cutting measures, they're going to be using just live on tapes, which were recorded separately in December 2023 during their final of their natural selection. And it will sort of be in-studio links, just introducing the performances, which is very odd. It's almost the same format that Melody Festival used to use for their second chance round back in the early noughties. It's showing a lack of importance, I think, a lack of interest, a lack of care about Eurovision if they're not even going to put on a proper live show.
We would love if we have any multi-listeners your input into that to know what is happening, because it seems that Malta at Eurovision is going through some trouble, and I would personally really love to know more about this.
Yes, and if any Maltese listeners are listening and you want to contact us, you can email us at contact@voteforthemusic.co.uk and we will endeavour to answer your email on the next podcast. Our next story is that Junior Eurovision will have 16 countries participate in this year's edition in Nice, and that has been announced along with the news that Estonia will be one of those 16, debuting for the first time. Germany is also going to be back, and we have the theme art and slogan.
Now, I am very excited for Junior Eurovision as I got into it even before the actual Eurovision and found many great songs that I enjoyed very much in this contest, theoretically targeted towards kids, but as it can be as enjoyable towards adults. I have to say that Estonian debut sounds very interestingly. Estonia is somewhat of an underdog of the main Eurovision Song Contest. I definitely think that with stepping into the new grounds, Estonia is going to take a similar approach to many other countries and test the waters with a very safe entry. We're probably going to see something in the vein of Germany 2020, Susan Stronger with You, but probably more romantic and in the style of slow ballad, probably with some Scandi influences. I hope that they are going to send a good singer. Of course, we already know that Estonia is going to be represented by Anna Sandra Albema. Well, my hopes are not to the roof, but I really hope Estonia can be a strong competitor that Junior Eurovision currently needs.
And let's just take a look at the artists we already have confirmed for Junior Eurovision. So obviously we had Estonia just there. Georgia, we have Anastasia Vidazi. I think that's how it's pronounced. Malta, we have Yulan Law. North Macedonia, Tamara Gruszewska. Portugal, we have Julia Macado. And Spain, we have Sandra Valero. Now, I apologise if I butchered any of those pronunciations. Again, contact at voteforthemusic.co.uk if you want to complain. But anyway, we've got some national finals coming up for Junior Eurovision, and there is one starting this afternoon.
In Poland, Szansa na Sukces arrives again, hosted by the Polish TVP, or TVP if you prefer in English. Now, it has to be said that Szansa na Sukces is a somewhat safe format to make. It doesn't look especially flashy. It's not the festival that you can boast about, but at the same time, it's professional enough to see that TVP always took Junior Eurovision somewhat seriously.
And we'll find out exactly who Poland will be selecting on the 24th of September. Also this evening, we have Ireland's first show of Junior Eurovision Air, which will see, again, very similar as finding out the start of who Ireland might be sending to Nice. And looking ahead to Nice, we have the branding of Nice 2023 out, revealed by France TV. And the slogan, which was revealed several months ago, has also got its own special logo, which gives a different feel to the one we got from the original trailer which came out. But the slogan is Heroes, or in French, Heroes, I would assume. And it's, I believe, sort of an environmental message of, you know, the children are the heroes of the future, etc.
I have to say I'm really interested in what's coming behind this theme. I try to interpret it in many ways so far. Most of them prove to be wrong now. What France has in store for us? I can't wait.
And finally, we've had some quite sad news about two former Eurovision participants. So firstly, a few weeks ago, Patricia Braden, who was the first United Kingdom participant back in 1957 in Frankfurt, sadly passed away. She participated for the United Kingdom at just age 21, and she finished 7th overall.
The first UK entry was a slow, elegant ballad that unfortunately didn't achieve much success in the contest it participated. However, it paved way for many great entries, and we're very thankful to Patricia for that. Your legacy will be the one to last, and thus you will be the one to be remembered. Rest in peace.
And we've also had some very sad news about Toto Cutugno, who was the Italian winner from 1990 and host of Rome 1991. He sadly passed away at the age of 80.
Now, Toto is obviously a very big name in the music industry, recognizable not just in Eurovision community, but also in several European countries around the world for his it's like Italiano and Sonoro. I have to say I'm particularly big fan of Italiano. It is a song that showcases all the greatest things about Italian music styles and the music making, gives those unique romantic but also warm feelings that we associate with Italian music. Essentially, the song accomplishes what it wanted to accomplish. It shows the entire world that Italian music is beautiful, and this is what this song will be remembered for, as well as Toto will be remembered for the way he always represented Italy around the world. He also did that in Eurovision.
Yeah, Insieme 1992 is a song of togetherness, it's a song of peace, it's a song of unity, and it's a song which we can look back very fondly to remember him. He has all our laws. Thank you for listening to Vote for the Music, the podcast. We'll be back next week with all the latest Eurovision news. Hopefully we'll be able to tell you exactly who Cyprus will be entering, but with Cyprus, you never quite know exactly what they're going to announce. So, goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me as well.
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.